All right, guys, it's Foresight Football. It's the Ecuadorians here today, me and Randy. We're going to be talking about Felix Sanchez. So I was just telling Randy that I recorded a previous video, but it was too long to edit. And honestly, it's better this way, anyways, because I couldn't do it without Randy. And now I get Randy's view, especially after these friendlies. So, Randy, just tell me what's your first reaction to Felix Sanchez being our coach, and what's the general feeling like in your house, and how do you feel about Felix Sanchez being Ecuador's new coach?
So my initial reaction to him being head coach was like, who the hell is this guy? I had no idea who he was. Like I was like, okay, maybe it's some, um up and coming, maybe like he was a coach for like U17, U18 for Ecuador or something like that. Like I didn't really have any opinion on it yet, but I was a little discouraged because it wasn't like any manager that already managed like a senior team, right? So until I found out that he was the coach of Qatar, a team that we beat in the World Cup. Oh my god, it was I was disappointed after that. I was like, oh no.
I know for me, I remember, I'm like, it was released, Felix Sanchez new coach. I'm like, what? No, this isn't real.
Uh-huh.
This is a troll. But
Yeah.
so yeah, tell me, what about your family? Like, do they know this? Have you heard any other talk?
From my family, not really. Like my dad, he's kind of into it. I think my dad is like, he keeps up with it a little bit, but not too much. Um, but I asked him about it, and he was like, don't really know the guy either. Like he didn't know any idea where he came from, and then I had to tell him, he is coming from Qatar, the team that we beat, and then he was like, "You're kidding!" Like he just thought it was a joke, like you did. Like that's how he felt, bro.
Oh man, but so I did a lot of research, and I know Randy, like same with my family and a couple Ecuadorians that I know, they didn't do so much research. They're just, they they're gonna let the games say do all the talking in a way.
Yeah,
So
like my dad is like, okay, yeah, now we gotta see like if he's the right coach for us. Like these friendlies will show.
so I'm just gonna be reading off of some of my notes, and kind of like I'm gonna read these to you, and then you tell me your reaction. So let's start off with his history. Okay, so he started off in Barcelona, FC Barcelona from Spain.
Okay, that's a good.
Uh, yeah, and he was there for 10 years from 1996 to 2006. He was part of the youth system. He helped with player development at La Masia. One of the key players that he helped bring into the main team was Sergio Roberto.
Okay.
But here's the thing that I have to say about that. Sergio Roberto joined the Barcelona team, I think in 2007, 2006 is when he came.
Mhm.
So he didn't really have too much involvement with him joining that first team, because as he came into La Masia, Felix Sanchez was already on his way out.
Mhm.
So I think he kind of just said that to kind of like boost his reputation. Because
True,
I mean,
probably.
if you're working at Barcelona, it's kind of like you want to say as much as you can. Like
Yeah.
if you met Messi, you probably would have been like, I coached Messi for a day.
Yeah. He wanted to boost his resume.
Yeah, exactly. And so one thing that he's quoted saying in certain interviews is that even though it's been a while that he's been at Barcelona, that like DNA is in him. The Barcelona DNA is in him.
Mhm.
So he wants his teams to be good on transition, position based, and like play good Spanish European football.
Mhm.
So moving on from there, that's the beginning part of his career. We go on
Mhm.
to his coaching. He went on to go coach Qatar U19 for 1 year. Then he went to go on to coach the Qatar U20 team for 3 years, the Qatar U23 team for 3 years, and the senior team for 5 years. There's been a little bit of layover there. So while he was coaching U20, he was also coaching U23. But the cool thing when you think about that is, if you went there for 1 year with the U19, after that 1 year, all those U19 players went on to go play the U20,
Mhm.
which after 1 year, he went to go coach the U20.
He grew
And
with the
then,
team.
so he grew with that team. So
Mhm.
what's kind of cool when I was looking at this, like in some of the tournaments he played with, he was there to witness like their first goals and then their senior goals. So he kind of grew with the team at a young age. So then just tell me what you think about that.
Yeah, definitely hearing about the Barca, he was in La Masia, he helped with player development. That's really, I mean, a little bit encouraging, right? There's that philosophy that he learned there, possession based football. So if he really does have that mentality and how he wants his team to play, that's a really good sign. Because modern day football, that is, if we can get our team to play like that, because I mean, under Alfaro, we were very defensive,
Mhm.
counterattack based. It was good to watch, but sometimes we didn't have like so much control over a game. So this philosophy, I guess, will help us have more control over a game. So if he can, bring that out of the players, that would be amazing. Especially because we have so many talented, young players. But
And and playing in Europe too.
yeah, and they're playing in Europe as well, so they got that experience, right? So yeah, him growing with that Qatar team, even though obviously they didn't do that great in the World Cup, it's kind of good to see that he could develop well, because I think they won, what was it, the Asian Cup?
Yeah, I'll
Uh,
get into that in a bit.
yeah, so
Yeah.
uh
It'll surprise you, trust me. A lot like I'm kind of happy that I did this research.
yeah,
Um but yeah, like from this information, like from what I got, like okay, like he's been around youngsters, which is great for us because as you know, like our
we're a
team
young team.
is
Yeah.
very young. So that's
Hmm.
great, right? One thing that like I'm sure you knew we were about to get Gareca, right?
Yes, I heard about that one. Yeah,
So
but
like
yeah,
that would have been good, but the one thing I have to say about that is like he also played like a very counter attacking game. And when he had his players, he did not like look into the youth. He just had his starting 11 and that was it,
yeah.
you know? So that's one thing I would say that's good. That was like a green flag, I guess I would say.
Mm.
But the one red flag was I was just praying and hoping that he like coached one more thing besides Qatar.
That's
But it seems like that's all he like that is all he did. Qatar U20, U19, U20, U23 in the senior team.
right.
Even if it was like us, like the coach of the B team of Barcelona, that would have been amazing. Or
Yeah, that would have been really good. Or like some, Barca juvenil, like A or B, like even those ones would have been good too, because they're right under Barca B, so like it would have been something.
or even like a Moroccan club that's like in the second division, just something else just to
Something.
show on his resume, because it's kind
Yeah.
of scary. It's
Uh-huh.
very rare when you see like someone with almost no coaching experience, which is no offense, almost what this looks like to me. Just jump straight to a team like Ecuador. Now I know Ecuador is not a big team,
Mhm.
but
We're up and coming, like definitely.
we're a South American team. Any South American team, and since there's so little of us, like
Mm.
we should all get like quality coaches. So that was a little bit of a red flag. I'm like, there's not much to go off here, especially because Qatar didn't need to qualify for the World Cup.
Mhm.
But yeah. So now I'm gonna just go to achievements. So his first achievement was for the AFC U19 champions. He was the champions for the AFC 2019. Um, it was an easy run in my opinion. He had North Korea, Iraq, and Oman in the group stage. Some some pretty easy teams.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then for knockouts, he had China. Kind of, it's again easy. Myanmar.
I never heard of that one actually.
They're a country. It's not in Asia, but and then North Korea again. So some key opponents they avoided were like South Korea, Japan, UAE, Australia, Iran, and Uzbekistan. They did have Iraq, which is a pretty good team, and China, who they're not bad, but they're not like the giants. They had a pretty easy run to the finals.
Right.
But again, like that's not their fault. It's not like Qatar got to pick their own team that they wanted to face.
Mhm.
Uh, so his second achievement was with the U20 team in 2018 for the AFC Championship. He actually had a hard group. It was Uzbekistan, China, and Oman. Uh, all were like really tight games. They won by 1 goal. Then after that, in the quarterfinals, he went on to go and lose to Vietnam, and then beat South Korea for third place. So Qatar finished in third. For U23. And what's cool when you look at that tournament actually is the champions ended up being Uzbekistan, who they beat in the group stage, and South Korea actually beat China, who Qatar lost to. So it could have been
The
anyone's.
winners, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that was like a good flag, right? Like a green flag.
Mm-hmm.
Then the one that everyone knows, they were AFC 2019 champions. Group stage they had Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, North Korea. Not a bad group. There's Saudi Arabia in there. Lebanon's okay. North Korea is not that great.
Like, see what they did against Argentina. Like, they're
Yeah,
not bad.
and they tied Ecuador, right? So then there's round of 16 they had Iraq,
Mm-hmm.
quarterfinal South Korea. That's a hard run so far.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the semifinals UAE, another hard team, and they beat them by 4.
Oh,
And the finals was Japan, but it was a B team. So that's a bigger. That to me was like wow, like that's like what Ecuador needs because we see this isn't an easy run. And Qatar is not a well known team. Now I would say Qatar is like in AFC the equivalent of like a Bolivia. So
mm-hmm.
imagine Bolivia going through like the hardest possible uh
Route.
knockout stages and still winning.
Still, that's true. Yeah,
So
because you know, I don't think I'm not sure of many Qatar players that even play in Europe. Maybe a couple, but like,
I don't think there's any. I think the whole Qatar squad that went to Qatar, they're all in like one club. I'm pretty sure too
oh
in
wow,
Qatar. Like
yeah,
there's maybe only like 5 to 8 Qatari people that made the senior team that aren't on the same club.
oh
So they
wow,
pretty much play year around.
yeah,
Which is another thing we have to consider is that those Qatari players had chemistry that he was dealing with.
mm-hmm.
Uh, his second last achievement, I would say, is third place in the Arab Cup in 2021. Group stage, Oman, Iraq, Bahrain. Quarterfinals, he had UAE. He beat them by 5. Semifinals, he lost to the eventual champs, Algeria, but the B team, Algeria.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they then went on to go beat Egypt without Mo Salah on pens, and Egypt tied Algeria in the groups. So again, it was another one of those scenarios where it could have been anyone's trophy, like anyone could end up champions. And I just want to, while I was doing this, I realized something too that like Qatar loves beating UAE, and UAE is a pretty good team. It was just something I wanted to throw in there because they beat them by 5, by 4, by 3. But last competition they had was the Gold Cup in 2021. They lost to USA by 1, who eventually went to go win the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a deep run for them. That's very far CONCACAF from
Mm-hmm.
Qatar. And this one's not really like a tournament they did good in. It's not an achievement, but it is a tournament that I wanted to highlight. They played in the Copa America. Uh, they tied to Paraguay.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. Then they went on to go lose to Colombia 1-0. Zapata scored, and I think
Only one,
yeah,
only
only one,
one.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Only one. And this is in South America too. And Zapata scored, I think in the 83rd minute, which is pretty late.
Pretty tight game then.
And then another, in my opinion, tight game. They lost to Argentina 2-0.
Mm-hmm. Only two. That's not bad.
Yeah. So quick thoughts on that if you want.
Definitely, you got some very optimistic stats. You know, it's good to hear that he's had some track record of going through teams that were stronger than his, and he actually got through some of them and or made it tough for them to play against. So whatever he was, obviously he had chemistry with that team or whatever. But I've never watched the Qatar game, so I can't really tell what type of football he played with them. So, but hearing all the stats that you said, definitely something to look forward to, like something that maybe he can bring to the national team for our players to. And look, like our team has way more quality than what he had at Qatar. Like if he can bring that unity that he had with Qatar and passion to Ecuador and make us play really well, like who knows? Sky's the limit, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly, you brought up a really good point that I haven't thought of, and I've been thinking about this for like easily 3 weeks. But the
Mm-hmm.
point you said there that you kind of brushed over it, but when you think about it, he stayed with this team for a long time, Qatar,
Right.
and I feel like some coaches that go to like the Middle East, they just go there as soon as they have like one bad year, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying like he brings that passion, and I never really thought about that, but yeah, he did bring that passion to Qatar. He did as I think
Stayed
as
there.
much as he could.
He stayed there for a while, yeah. So you had to have liked it, like to build that team.
So I'm just gonna do like the records and a couple other stuff, but shout out Deadball TV. It's a YouTube channel I watch, and they actually put out these facts. So against CAF, they've played 4 games. Um, CAF is Africa, as you know. Do you want to guess how many of these games they've won?
Against African teams,
Yeah,
I'm gonna say one.
0. They've lost all 4.
One is being nice. I was gonna say zero, but like I wanted to at least be like, okay, one team, bro.
Okay, and then CONMEBOL, South America, they had 7 games.
Zero. I'm gonna say zero.
They won 1.
Wow. Okay. Who?
Ecuador.
Oh my god.
What are the odds that
That
it's
is a lot,
us?
man.
You know,
That's crazy.
it was in a friendly. I think back in 2019.
Friendly. We must have
Yeah.
been playing like our C team or something.
No, it wasn't.
Oh god. That's even
Bro,
worse.
Ecuador, you know how it was. Back then we were losing to Haiti, bro. It was bad.
Okay.
That's when Antonio Valencia and all of them left and Dominguez didn't get called up. But yeah, 1 win. They actually have 4 draws, which not bad.
Not bad. No.
2 losses. And then Europe. Now keep in mind they weren't facing like top dogs. They have 19 games,
9 wins.
6 wins. Not
Okay.
bad.
No.
But I want to say they had 8 losses, and one of those losses were to Azerbaijan, 2-1. So
Ooh,
yeah, exactly.
I don't even know that team, bro.
They're losing to minnows. CONCACAF, this is where it gets good. They have 5 wins, 3 losses, 3 draws. So not bad, right? He does good he did good away there. So last thing, like what I was thinking, right? Like as an Ecuadorian team, like
Yeah. I want to see your view on it. Like, what do you think?
yeah, like when I was thinking that, like I'm like, okay, like this coach that we're getting, like what really are our goals? Like are we aiming to get like the World Cup? You know, like what realistically does Ecuador want out of like Felix Sanchez or any future coach that we were supposed to get? And in my opinion, with the quality that we have, and I'm sure you think the same thing, uh, we want to reach the quarterfinals of the next World Cup,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's something that Ecuador got close to in 2006, losing 1-0 to England. And then we want to win a Copa. Maybe not the next Copa America, but we want like a piece of silverware because Ecuador, as you know, I want to say this one quick stat to you. Did you know that Ecuador has qualified for more World Cups in 2001 since 2001 than games they've won against other South Americans in the Copa America?
Oh my. I mean, I know we've done horrible in Copa America, but that's just shameful, bro. Oh,
Bro, we've won 0 games against other South American teams in the Copa America since 2001, and we've qualified for 4 World Cups since then. Think about that for a second.
oh god. Okay, like from my view, And when you said about like what do you want to get out of Felix Sanchez, my first thing was like get far in Copa America, like
Mhm.
do something in Copa America because we're always bad in that. Like
Mhm.
we suck.
Yeah,
So that'd be like my first objective. Like, well, obviously that comes first. So yeah, like definitely get far in that, you know. But
and
that is mental, bro.
yeah, it was a crazy stat when I was thinking about it because I always know that stat at the back of my head because Moises Caicedo, I'm pretty sure, scored against it was Peru, and it looked like Ecuador was gonna win the game because I think it was 2-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
And then the commentators were like, the last time Ecuador beat another South American team in the Copa America, Moises Caicedo wasn't even born. So I was like, I always have that stat in the back of my mind. And
Yeah.
while I was doing like the other day, while I was looking at Ecuador, right, I'm like, wow, we've qualified for more World Cups than games we won, and we've had way more Copa Americas, obviously, but
Yeah, there's been like about freaking 6, 7.
since 2001 and played group stages in them. So like, anyways,
Yeah.
that brings me kind of to my next thought, which is what I want from Ecuador is I want Ecuador to actually be like a team that people take serious. You
Hmm.
know, I'm not saying for us to be the levels of like Brazil, Italy, Argentina, but like, when people are like, oh, like Chile or Colombia, like they're not easy teams.
Definitely. I was about to say like Colombia when they were actually good. Like I want us to be like that.
Yeah, when like if someone got us in the World Cup, they're like, oh, that's a tough game.
Hmm.
Like that's the I want like respect for Ecuador. Is what
Exactly.
I'm saying.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna quickly go over the pros and cons. Okay. So pros. He's technically studied Ecuador. I remember talking to you about this in the car.
Yeah.
That he's faced Ecuador, in the World Cup, and I'm sure that he did his homework on Ecuador, his opponent. So he does know our strengths and our weaknesses.
Hmm.
So becoming our coach, he'll know our strengths and our weaknesses because
Hmm.
he's probably been studying Ecuador for like a good 4 months.
Hmm.
Another pro is he speaks Spanish. Some people don't see that as a pro, but I do because it brings you closer to the players, especially since they're so young. They need that personal touch.
Hmm.
Um, has elevated Qatari football because I think Qatari football, you look back 15 years ago, was a joke.
Hmm. Definitely.
Maybe the same level as Haiti or Carousel. No offense, Haiti or Carousel, but
Hmm.
like people in the Asian Federation probably didn't look at Qatar as like a heavy hitter.
Threat. Yeah, like no threat at all.
But now, like he brought them to that level where I think next 2030 World Cup, 2026 World Cup, teams are actually gonna be like, no, Qatar may have done bad, but they're a good team. Like they're a
Mhm.
decent
Like
team.
you can't, even though they're not great, I'd say like you can't sleep on them, like
Yeah,
that type thing. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. He's won silverware for Qatar, their first piece of silverware, not
Mhm.
just one, but two third place finishes. Um, has worked with the youth. I mentioned this to you before. Barca, Qatar, and Ecuador is full of youth, and we're just keep producing more youth. Kendry Paez, William Pacho, all these youngsters that are coming out. Napa. He's European based, like you said. He played a lot of Ecuadorians play in Europe. So it's good that we're getting that transition now. That if our players are playing in Europe, they're gonna have European coaches,
Mhm.
and if we're gonna be playing in big competitions like the World Cup, there's gonna be European teams we're gonna have to face.
Mhm.
Uh, he actually has a decent squad selection. So like I wrote this note before the friendlies, and he put out his squads and they weren't bad. Like he had some local Ecuadorians, which means he did his homework and saw like, oh, Junior Sornosa, a guy that plays for Independiente.
I saw you started against Australia.
Yeah.
Surprising.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and Alfaro never did that. I'm not gonna go against Alfaro's squad selection
Mhm.
because he had a great squad selection. He practically brought in our youth team and gave us the team we have today.
Yeah.
But at least it shows like what I was saying about the Peruvian coach Gareca,
Mhm.
that he at least is gonna look at other options.
Right.
Um, And finally, my last point, for pros, is that he's European and he's bald. So you know, there's a good record for bald European coaches. You look at Zidane, Ten
Right.
Hag, and Pep. So please be our next Pep. I've been saying I want Pep for Ecuador.
Just for me, the fact that he came from Barca is like
Oh yeah, that's so special for you.
yes, yes.
So then I'm just go through the cons. He's only coached Qatar. His squad, even though I said his squad selection was good, it also is a little scary because when it comes to injuries, and I know he's new, but with Castillo, someone asked him about Castillo and said, what are your opinions on the Castillo case? And he kind of just deflected it. It was like, with the team I have right now, I'm gonna focus on them. I'm gonna elevate Ecuadorian soccer, and that's kind of like, okay, like, are you gonna like reject Castillo, or are you gonna reject one of my favorite players, Campaña,
Hmm.
uh, and what's going on with the squad selection? Uh, he didn't prove much at Barca. Uh, I was looking so much for the information on Barca because obviously I'm like, there's all this information about him at Qatar, but none of this information at Barca. So what did he really accomplish if it's
Right.
really in his blood? We won't really know how he is as a coach because South America is really hard. So especially since Ecuador starting off with -3 points, he
Mhm.
kind of gets a pass if we lose against Argentina and we lose against Uruguay. He kind of gets that pass, right? Because those are two really hard games,
Mhm.
and we won't really know how he will be until next year. And by then, is it too late? So that's a con.
Mhm.
The other con is, again, I have to emphasize this: he's only ever coached at Qatar. So, like I
I mean,
said before, I was hoping that he coached at one club, just to show us his records for another team, on a different continent.
mhm.
It would have been beautiful. But I'll give my opinion now. To like wrap it up, Sanchez. We still have one more thing to talk about. I'll get to after, but before these friendlies happened, I saw this as a B. On a good day, a B plus. On a bad day, a B minus. I think we should give him a chance. Realistically, we're Ecuador. We couldn't expect a big signing. I trust in the federation. I trust in our president. He's fixed a lot. And if he backs Felix Sanchez, and if Felix Sanchez, I also know was a cheap option for 2 million, I think. Um, we just have to wait and see. And thank God we have a good team, and he is good with the youth. So I don't think it's bad. I think we got to give him a chance. I think um, there's enough information there to show that he could be a great coach for us. There's also enough to show that he won't be the best. Um, but yeah, I give it a B from F to A. So that's good. It's a good signing for Ecuador.
Mhm.
Um, Now after the friendlies, did you watch the friendlies by any chance, like the highlights or anything?
I
I
watched.
understood if you didn't.
I I didn't watch the first game because we lost. I was like, I ain't watching that, bro. So I watched. I think. I think I watched like a snippet of the second game that we won. Actually, no. I saw the. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw the goals. Yeah, I did. I did. Sorry, I can't remember that well, but yeah, I did watch the second. I saw that. Oh yeah, because I remember. What's his name? Rodriguez played. Kevin Rodriguez.
Kevin Rodriguez.
Liked him. He played really like I saw a lot of highlights from him. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, he
His
played.
finishing was off. His finishing was off, but he was like electric in that game.
Do you know where the story about Kevin Rodriguez?
No,
He played in Serie B of
really.
Ecuador. Of Ecuador.
Oh, I was like you said,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not my bad. Serie B of Ecuador. So
yeah,
second division in Ecuador.
yeah.
He was in like a mid-table team apparently.
Okay.
And for the friendly against Iraq that we had, I think 5 days before the World Cup,
Yeah.
Alfaro called him up, and everyone's like, "Why didn't Alfaro call up Campaña or like all these other strikers Ecuador has to offer? Not why not Sornosa from Independiente?
Yeah.
So fans were pretty mad at him,
Hmm.
and so he puts on Kevin Rodriguez for I think 20 minutes in the Iraq game, takes him off. I mean, game ends. He didn't really contribute too much. Everyone's like, okay, he's like decent, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it's like 8 hours later, he has to like release his final list of the players he's bringing to the World Cup, and Kevin Rodriguez is on it.
Oh wow.
And everyone's like, why is he calling up Kevin Rodriguez?
Yeah.
And then yeah, as you saw, his highlights are really good, and he's on Independiente now.
Hmm.
So like he made like a jump from pretty much like imagine like what's a championship team?
Uh,
Middlesbrough.
Blackburn.
Black I would say Middlesbrough because Blackburn are pretty good. But he made
Okay.
like he was on like a Middlesbrough team
Yeah.
and jumped to like Liverpool, bro. So like and
Yeah.
now he's on the and he made the England squad, bro. Like but anyways, yeah. After watching the friendlies, I gotta say, I like him, bro. I like I like our coach.
Hmm.
I know it's still early. It was only two friendlies against Australia, which aren't they're not a bad team. You know, Australia, in my opinion, is bigger than Ecuador. If you ask me,
Definitely after the, like if you asked me before the World Cup, I'd be like, nah, we're bigger. But after the World Cup, they definitely showed that they're a really good team.
yeah, they are. Honestly, I wouldn't want to admit it, but even before the World Cup, I would have said it.
Mm.
But um, he kept his promise. You know, he wants an attacking team apparently because
Mhm.
Qatar was a defensive team,
Right.
and even though we played five at the back, we didn't play five at the back like Qatar does, where it's more defensive. We played five at the back where, you know, Estupinian and Preciado really went down those wings to contribute, like very attacking wise.
Yeah.
Um, and we held possession. I don't know if you saw the first game; it was almost like 70% possession to their 30%.
Wow.
We still lost 3-1. The second game was more even, but
Right.
we were attacking like crazy, bro.
Right.
Uh, it could have
Also,
been.
that was the first game. I think they were getting used to maybe the style. You know.
And yo, when I tell you, I was so sure we're gonna lose the second game, and I was like, and this is the reason why I like him even more, is that it's so impressive that we won that second game, because it shows that he learned the flaws of Australia
Hmm.
and he built on to beat them.
To beat them. Yeah.
On top of that, he did that without our three starting attackers, bro. No Valencia, no Plata,
Hmm.
no Sarmiento. Then we didn't have our depth with Castillo. We didn't have our depth with Grueso. And he pulled it off, bro. Like that's really impressive in my eyes.
Hmm.
Um so yeah, that really showed me like okay, like he's keeping his promise. I've seen the possession base. I'm seeing the good on transition. We were amazing on transition, bro. Um and I'm excited for him. Again, it's only our first two games, but I'm actually really excited because like you said, Alfaro was very kind of like we weren't the most counter-attacking team, but we were like playing that South American football. And I felt like our best times when we played is when we had like almost like that tiki taka
Hmm.
going on with
Yeah.
like Moises Caicedo, Pervis Estupinian, to Valencia, back to Moises, and they're just playing around with the ball, trying to like air out the opponent.
Yeah.
And you could really see that with this team that it's starting to happen.
Hmm.
So it actually got me really excited after watching the game, and I would give it now a B plus. No, it's not that big of a thing, but again, it's only two friendlies. And I'm excited to see what he could do with like Valencia, Plata. I'm so excited to see what he could do with Plata.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
I can't wait. I didn't know that they were missing the three attackers,
bro, we
but
had 7 injuries.
damn,
Yeah,
and we still managed to play well and pull off a win
yeah, that
in
was crazy.
Australia too.
And yeah, exactly in Australia. Um, but yeah, bro, that's all I really gotta say. What are your now after all that? What are your opinions?
For me, I think like I'd give the same grade that you gave, a B, right? B. I'd say maybe B minus. You know, just because of his resume. Obviously, I wasn't able to watch the full game, right? But what you're saying, he's definitely improving from his first game. So it could be a really good sign, you know. Like definitely, I'm staying optimistic. You know, I'm trying to believe in him to build this team, and who knows? Like we could really build something off of him. You know, he could be really motivated now that he has a way better squad. You know, so yeah, I'll say I'm optimistic. Yeah, I'm not trying to look too much into the negative, even though
There's a lot there.
there's a lot there. You
It's not
know,
even negative, it's more like unknown, which is a big negative, you know.
yeah, like he's not really proven, you know, that much. So it's kind of it's hard to ignore that. But that being said, I'm just trying to be positive and be like, okay, let's back you. Let's back him. You know, that's what we need to do is back our coach.
Exactly.
That's what we need to do right now because he doesn't come with so much experience. So everyone, all of the fans just need to back him right now.
Yeah. So like I want to say that like I'm opening him up. If you see this Felix Sanchez, I'm opening my arms to you on behalf of Ecuadorians. You know, at first I was very, and I still am a little sus. You know, and but I want to say like you know enjoy the ceviche, enjoy the view. You know, take care of my boys,
Yeah.
and si se puede, man. But that's all, bro. Uh, anyways, guys, it's Sportside Football. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment on what you think the signing is for Ecuador. Again, I know, try to imagine it's not your team, especially if you come from a big team like England or Argentina, but that it's Ecuador. And leave your thoughts on the friendlies too if you're able to watch them. I'm sure not a lot of you did. They were at 5 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. And that first game, waking up at 5 a.m. just to watch them lose 3-1 was so painful. But,
I thought about that. I was like, yo, this guy actually woke up frustrated.
you know, I didn't stream the second game, and it was because I woke up at 4:15. I grabbed the laptop, I got StreamYard ready, and then I'm like, oh, like there's still 15 minutes and they start late, so like I'm gonna sit down for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I wake up from my nap, and it's 5:30. It's 5:38. I'm like, oh my god, I missed it. I missed 8 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
And then after I see it's like the 48th minute, I'm like, oh my god, what am I talking about? I missed the full first half.
Yeah.
And then I go on and I see it's 1-0. I'm like, is Ecuador winning? No, it's Australia winning.
Yeah.
And then I get on right on time for Kevin Rodriguez to get the penalty.
Mm.
From there it was good. But
Mm.
yeah, guys, leave your thoughts and yeah, have a great day, guys. Peace.
Peace.